at a certain point of development, you have to understand where your child is at. So if your child is in a position where they do want to play at a high level, step one, no matter what, is making sure that the kid has the ability to hit the center of the club face as much as they possibly can. I think we take a lot of the talk for granted at the junior level because it's always about hitting the ball really far and trying to swing as fast as you possibly can. But it's really hard to develop consistency at that point if we're so worried about length.
Welcome to The Golf Parent, where you get access to the best minds in junior golf. I'm your host, Ryan Adams, and today's episode might expand how you think about your child's future in this game. Because yes, the dream might be college golf, maybe even professional golf. But what if the path into golf doesn't always start the way that we think it should? What if someone could pick up the game, say at 19, no junior career, no early training, and still carve out a real career in the game? Not instead of the traditional path, but just more like proof of how many doors this beautiful game opens for us. And when you zoom out like that as a parent, it forces us to actually rethink what early training actually means. Like what goes into long-term results? And what should we really be prioritizing? Is it distance or simply learning how to strike the ball early on? Is it structure or making sure that our kids genuinely love the game? And in today's world where every swing can be captured, shared, and analyzed, could your child build not just a game, but a voice in golf? Today's guest is Harrison Kovelman, a coach and a creator with a completely unconventional path into the game, and a perspective that might just shift how you think about development. And for those golf parents listening, after hundreds of conversations with some of the best coaches, sports psychologists, and experts in junior golf, I started noticing the same patterns over and over again. The same mistakes good parents making them without even realizing it. So we put together a free guide called 99 Mistakes Most Golf Parents Make. And honestly, this might save you years. Time, money, frustration, all of it. And in some cases, it might even protect your child's love for the game. And it's completely free. Just go to thegolfparent.com and download it today. See many of these that you might be making yourself. Let me know. And if I missed any, also let me know. All right, and now without further ado, let's dive into the conversation. The golf influencer and swing coach, Harrison Kovelman, is on the Golf Parent podcast. Welcome, Harrison.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. I'm excited for this conversation because I get a lot of, at least a lot of the previous guests so far have been very kind of, more established golf coaches. They've spent almost their entire careers and lives playing golf and immersed in golf. But you're a little bit unique because you found the game a little bit later in life. You hyper-focused, and now here you are, basically a professional golfer and able to make a living off of it. For those that don't know you, let's just start right here. What's your journey been like so far? Who are you and how did golf find you?
Thanks for that. I appreciate it. I can tell you when everything started, I was probably 18 or 19 years old. I got into the game just like anybody else. I was into a bunch of sports growing up, and there was just a random day, a couple friends said, "Hey, let's go hit some balls at the driving range." And I thought of it like an old man's hobby. I wasn't really interested at the time. Um, Went to the range with them and just fell in love. I hit that one perfect shot that I think everybody hits at some point in their career. And I immediately became hooked. That's kind of where everything started. And that was 10 years ago now. So when it all started, it was just getting comfortable and understanding more about what I could when it came time to playing the game. I decided to go to the golf academy in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. After school, moved down to South Florida. And then that's really where the golf journey kind of started, as to finding what my niche was going to be and what I really enjoyed. And helping others play the game well was really what I stuck on to. So started coaching about 6 or 7 years ago now. Been playing the game for about 10 years. This would be 11. So it's been a wild journey, but that's how it all started.
So I'm curious, Harrison, then you said that you played other sports when you were a kid. What are the sports that you play, and how do you feel like those sports maybe helped accelerate your understanding or grasp of playing golf later in life?
It's funny the amount of sports that I played was, I mean, I played everything from tennis to ice hockey to football to lacrosse. I ran track in high school, and originally I was devoted to doing track and running out of school and um, going about my career that way when it came time to college. And I just decided that it wasn't really fun for me anymore. It wasn't the path that I saw myself going down. So came back home and then started this whole golf thing. So I've been around a ton of sports growing up. I definitely think that it's helped with my hand-eye coordination, and definitely tennis helped a ton because tennis, I am a lefty, and golf, I am a righty. So I think just a natural tennis backhand allowed me to get comfortable with playing the game. It was pretty funny. When I started, I told all of my friends I was a lefty, and they said, "Oh, we don't really have lefty clubs." And I was like, "That's fine. I don't think I need them." And they were like, "No, no, no, you really should." And I was like, "No, it's fine. Let's just start this way." And I started swinging righty, and I wasn't necessarily any good, but I knew it was more comfortable than the other. So it definitely helped me get a just a base level as to where I needed to start.
That's great. I don't think I've ever heard that of left-handed tennis player and a right hand. I've heard that in hockey where you might shoot left, but then golf the opposite way, which is actually what I do. But I don't think I've ever heard of like because tennis is such a hand-eye coordination that's I don't know. Have you ever heard of anybody else that's like that?
No, I honestly, I did it solely when I started, I did it solely out of comfort. I just knew
Mm,
that as a lefty, my backhand was so similar to a right-handed golf swing that it just made sense to start there. Even when everyone was telling me like, "Oh, this isn't right. Like you really should be swinging the other way." I said, "You know what? I'm sure everyone that when they first started playing had no idea even which side of the ball they needed to start from. So my reasoning for it was fine enough for me at the moment."
So, okay, so now looking back in your journey, I didn't find golf until very late in life. I'm 44 now, and I started playing at like 36. And similar to you, I was like, this is something I'll do when I retire. It's an old man sport, like it was always something that I pushed off into the future. And then I finally decided, I'm like, why? My body's good right now, like why not? And then of course you get hooked, and my wife basically called golf my mistress for many years as I first started playing because you're just so hyper focused. So I guess my first question to you is like, do you wish that you would have picked up the game earlier, like so many of us do that find it later in life?
Um, I do. So I guess when you think about it, I definitely do wish I started earlier, and I think my parents say this to me all the time. If I had started the game at a much earlier age, the route that I would have taken with golf would have been so different. But at the same time, I think I needed to start when I did because I've always had this ability to take something that can be complicated or sophisticated and break it down into its simplest form. And so for me, just knowing that what I did when I was 19, I was able to look at, video of golfers. I was able to understand kind of where I needed to start, and I think that helped me get a really good sense of what I wanted to do with golf. And I feel like if I had done that at an earlier age, I may not have seen that same opportunity. So while yes, one avenue is definitely saying you should have done it earlier. You could have been on tour. Another avenue says, you know what, this happened because I'm supposed to be doing this. So I'm grateful for it all.
Isn't it funny that golf seems to be the only sport where all of us in the back of our mind are like, yeah, if I had unlimited time and resources, I might be able to make the tour, right? Like I don't know if it's complete false hope or confidence, but there's a little, I don't know, like I don't think I can make it into the NBA. I don't think I can make it into many of the other sports, but in golf, I'm like, maybe in the right circumstances. It's funny.
There's always, especially when you start to hit those really incredible shots where you look up and you couldn't believe that you just did it, and you
Mm,
go, "How do I do that again?" And I
yeah,
think and I think everybody can. That's where golf is so special. You can really relate at the highest level because it is the closest. In my opinion, when it comes time to other sports, it is the closest you can get to seeing something that a high level player would do. So, it's
100%.
it's a it's a beautiful game. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well said. Okay, let's get right into it then. So, for the golf parents that are listening right now and who maybe have kids that are just starting out, what have you learned now, even at 19 or fast forward through the 10 years, that if you were to go back and let's just say little baby Harrison's picking up the game, insert an age, 5, 6, 7, 10, whenever it is, do you have kind of a structure or system? Where would you start? And what advice would you give to those golf parents that do have someone that's just starting out in junior golf and are looking to kind of maximize that development curve?
So for me, I really do think it starts with the fun and the love of the game. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I feel a lot of times, especially when a parent is helping their kid get into the game, they're expecting this level of really solid play or hitting the ball well or having this beautiful looking swing, and it starts to take away from the child actually enjoying the game. And so I've done things and I've done kids clinics in the past where having fun with the kids is simply just filling up water balloons and getting them to hit the water balloons and getting them to pop. Like that's such a fun way to get them excited about putting a golf club in their hands. It's a crazy way to do it, but it is one of the first ways that you start to get a child actually enjoying the game at any kind of level, and then it starts to become much easier to develop them because now there's some want there. It's much harder doing it the other way, so that's where I would start. I'd start with getting them to enjoy the game, have as much fun with it as possible. Fun does not mean that they have to hit a good shot. Fun does not mean that they have to go out on the course and they have to play it well. It's learning the other avenues to show them where that fun is, and then it becomes easier to develop them.
I have never heard that before. Hitting a water balloon and just like letting it explode, especially somewhere in like, South Florida where it's like it's hot, it's nice. I mean, I grew up in Canada, so, more than half the
Yeah.
year, that's a little bit chilly to be doing that. But what a fun way to actually first introduce the game to someone. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things where without even really doing it, you're teaching them that they need to hit it hard enough to get the balloon to pop. And if it isn't an area where it's warm, like I've seen people take foam golf balls and get a white canvas and you dip the golf balls in some type of paint and you let the kids kind of splatter the paint every. Of course it's messy, but again, just another really fun way to get kids excited. And then all of a sudden they're asking you, when can we do it again? Or I want to do more of that, or that's so exciting. And then you take them out onto the golf course and it kind of feels like they've already been there, even if they haven't even hit a golf ball yet. So to me, that's just a really easy way to start introducing kids into the game or getting them to enjoy it that much more.
Oh, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you for a third. I mean, we've got water balloons, we've got painted foam golf balls on a blank canvas. That's amazing. Is there a third? Is there something else that can introduce kids to the game?
What's always fun, is definitely a couple putting games. So I've done pool noodles before, and you almost make your own version of a mini golf course. So you start to kind of lay out what a random kind of squirrely hole would look like.
Mm.
Another great way to get them excited. They're not used to pool noodles being on a golf course, so at first it's a shock, and they're kind of working their way around it. Those are all just a few examples of stuff that I've done in the past, and the level of joy and excitement you would think like pool noodles, like come on, but at a young age, it is the most exciting thing for them, and they really do enjoy it that much more.
That's great. And then at the end of the drill, whoever maybe wins, they get to take the pool noodle and then chase the coach around maybe the chipping area and get to like beat him with the pool noodle or something fun like that. That's awesome.
You get them to have ice cream at the end or something
Ah,
that they thoroughly enjoy. So, yeah.
A little bit less violent than my suggestion, but I love it. I love it. Okay. What about for those kids who are a little bit more developed? So maybe they picked up the game, they've been playing it for a couple of years, and now they're looking to kind of get a little bit more serious in junior golf and, starting to compete and be in tournaments. And what advice would you give to those parents and those juniors that are looking to kind of maximize the early or mid stages of junior golf?
It's a good question. I think at a certain point of development, you have to understand where your child is at. So, if your child is in a position where they do want to play at a high level, step one, no matter what, is making sure that the kid has the ability to hit the center of the club face as much as they possibly can. I think we take a lot of the talk for granted at the junior level because it's always about hitting the ball really far, and trying to swing as fast as you possibly can. But it's really hard to develop consistency at that point if we're so worried about length. So I've always said the checklist for me would be, first, you want to start with contact. Just how solid can we hit the golf ball all the time? It doesn't matter what club we're doing it with. Even at the level of putting, we should be able to hit the center of the club face. From there, it is so much easier to look at stuff like direction, look at stuff like gaining more distance. That's where I always start, and I would normally say that, when you are somewhat of a developed junior, it is much easier to take care of that stuff because it's still an early enough age where you can tackle it. It's much harder when they're already developed and you kind of have some tendencies, and now you see kids kind of starting their club on the heel or starting with the club on the toe, and they're just trying to compensate with all of these things. But oh, they're this great player, so we really shouldn't mess with that. And then all of a sudden, it's something that really becomes much harder to break. So tackle the core issues first, take care of hitting it solid, then you can start to mess with distance and direction. That would be my 2 cents on where the mid developed junior should be.
So I'm embarrassed to say, but so a couple of years ago, I was very excited because I've got a friend that actually played on the Canadian tour, and I finally convinced him to give me a lesson on the driving range because my driving is very inconsistent. And I'm like, okay, if a pro can really just look at my swing, he can fix me. And so he watched like 10 or 15 of my swings on the driving range while he was hitting as well beside me. And I'm like, okay, so what's your advice? How do I fix it? What do I do? Is it like in my swing plan? Is it this? And he's like, honestly, Ryan, you just got to learn to hit the center of the face. He's like, until you can hit the center of the face, he's like, I can't help you. And I'm like, I was equally embarrassed and a little insulted at the simplicity of that answer. But then I also realized, I'm like, he's probably right. If I can't hit the center of the face, there's no other little helping. So yeah, I think you're onto something.
It's one of the I think it's one of the detriments to not just junior golf, but generally anyone who's trying to improve at the game. Um, they're so worried about what their swing needs to look like, or how fast they need to swing, or how far the ball needs to go, and then they forget about those little things, like not just hitting it centered, but how you hold the golf club, how you address a golf ball, these basic fundamentals of just playing the game at a high level, that these guys at the highest level seem to do so often that we forget about it. So it's a great place to start no matter what age.
So we're talking about contact as being key, at least, to really as the foundation to build off of. But what other aspects of the game do you think, like if you were to rank, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but if you were to rank like putting, chipping, approach shots, irons, woods or driving, like how would you rank the importance of what you're teaching to your junior golfer and how to kind of build that foundation to build off of?
So if I were to rank them, they're all important, obviously. But if I were to rank them, I've always believed that having a really good short game is just so much easier to develop around. We see it all the time now, especially when we're looking at stats. Yes, being long off the tee is super important, but at the same time, the length does not necessarily counter the dispersion. And so now if you are missing fairways, now you have to be really good at getting up and down or scrambling. So relying on a really good short game, if your putting is really solid, those to me would probably be really, really important. Followed by getting off the tee, and then iron play would probably be last in that category. Not saying that it's not important, but when we're talking about how we get a golfer to play at the highest level, if you know that your short game is something that you can depend on, whether the round is going well and you're hitting the shots that you want, or it's not going well and you're just getting up and down all day, it is so much easier for you to be able to go out and be consistent with your scoring. I've heard it so many times where, um, like, yes, a golfer is going to have that great round and they're going to shoot under par, and then the next round they're shooting 10 or 12 over, and we're going, well, what the heck happened? And it really does boil down to they just couldn't get it in the hole at that point. So that's where I would start. That's honestly when I started the game, it was really tough for me to sit there on the range and hit ball after ball when I had no idea what I was doing with my own game. So it was just easier to go to the short game area or the putting green and say, well, maybe I don't hit my driver so well, or maybe I always do this when I'm hitting my shots. But if I can get it in the hole, that's going to make it that much easier so that when it is working, I'm going to feel really good about it. So
100%. You do always hear that a good short game will disguise a lot of shortcomings in the rest of your game. Sorry, I've got a faux pas. I left my phone on. That is unacceptable. But so okay, so talking about the future of kind of golf. I followed I follow your account, Swing Simple Golf, and I saw that you were at the golf league and kind of checking out that at SoFi Stadium, and it's cool. I mean, there's so much innovation, so much happening in golf. Where do you see golf going in the future, and specifically in maybe golf coaching or helping people just get better? Like, where's the future?
I think when we're talking about just the future of where golf is going, it has to be more dependent on the technology. Of course, at some level there is this feel and this technique that, okay, if I feel this certain shot, I'm going to get this certain result. But there's no data to back that up, or there's no feedback if we're not using technology. And I'm not just talking, monitors. Um, I have also experimented with ChatGPT recently, so I've been using AI more in my coaching, not just for my players, but for myself. I do believe that if you're prompting the AI correctly, you can start to get the results that you're after. So taking advantage of all of these avenues kind of starts to establish your baseline. Doesn't matter what type of player you are, and it just makes it that much easier to then rely on the information when things are going well or when things aren't going well. You can go back to kind of what you've already established in your book or your baseline and say, hey, today was not a good day. I felt X, Y, and Z when I was hitting the golf ball. What am I missing here? And because you have this database that you've already started with, it is so easy for you to fall back into good patterns, and vice versa. If you're having that great round and go, hey, X, Y, and Z happened today, why would that be? Why would that be the result? Well, you already have established what you need to look at or what you need to work on into this database, and it goes, well, this is why you did these things tremendously well today, and that's why you're going to play good golf. So to me, it is one of the easiest ways to start developing. It just makes it that much easier for everybody.
Well, AI is definitely the buzzword, and you hear it more and more. And so I'm kind of curious, if I'm a golf dad on the range, and my son or daughter is not hitting it well, and I'm trying to maybe help them out, but I'm not a professional. What would be an example of maybe a good prompt, or how to get the most out of something like ChatGPT to be able to kind of, help at least fix or band-aid, or at least, make sure I'm not doing damage with the advice I'm giving to my junior?
So, Ryan, the best way to answer this question is to give you an example from what I personally experienced. So, not too long ago, I was having an issue with hitting it thin. It was an issue that I've never really experienced when it came time to hitting the ball solid. I've never ever in my golfing career had an issue with hitting it thin. And for the life of me, even as a coach, it was really hard to sit there on the range and go, what is happening right now? I have no idea what I need to even look at in order to understand where to start. So I've done this in the past. My wife, who is incredible with prompting ChatGPT, has helped me as well. Essentially, you want to give it some pre knowledge so that it understands what you're trying to do. So you would say something along the lines of, you are an expert PGA Tour level coach. You have the expertise of XYZ individuals. And we all know who's at the pinnacle of golf lessons. You think of Butch Harmon, Sean Foley, Chris Como. So just throwing a couple of those names at it, it's already going into the internet and it's finding all of the teachings and philosophies and videos of what these coaches have done or what they've said. So you're already starting it there and you're saying, I am this level of player. Recently in my practice or recently in my game, I've been noticing I'm hitting the ball thin. I'm going to send you a video of my swing from face on and from down the line. And I want you to give me the core issue as to what's going on, as to why I could be hitting it thin. And then all of a sudden you have your answer sitting right there in front. It takes that long. I really um I've seen it too many times on the range where we're trying to throw, 4 or 5 different things to solve the answer when the reality is taking the 10 minutes to do something like that is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of stress. I did that. It gave me a really good answer as to what I needed to look at with my own game. And then I said, you know what? Like I'm glad that I got the information, but I actually want to test this now. I want to see if it works. And so for the next 2 weeks, I did exactly what it told me to do. It even laid out what type of practice plan or what type of routine that I should have in order to ingrain it effectively. And over time, it was able to take care of the issue. I stopped hitting it thin. I started hitting it solid again. If anything, I started to get a little bit of the other way, getting a little too heavy, which is great. You almost want to see that extreme to show that you're doing something different. And it makes it so much easier to then go back to that database and say, hey, I'm doing what you told me to do. This is what I'm getting now. And now all of a sudden you're building this information that knows not only so much about you, but knows about the coaches that you're giving it. And it just makes it just gives you this blueprint of, okay, I can play my best using something like this.
It's wild to think that it's, you know, not just that simple, but that it can in real time, like just how far it's come even in a year. I mean, you see so many of these wonderful apps that are popping up and, using technologies and all the golf coaches, but, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes in the next 5 years because, all the answers are there, and then it's just a matter of, the debate right now in the game seems to be, or at least it will be, I'm guessing, or if I'm to kind of forecast in the future, it's gonna be the robotic nature of understanding the golf swing versus the artistry and the imagination and the intuition of playing golf. Like there's going to be this kind of push and pull. Um, I don't know. It's interesting to see where the game's going to go.
And I agree to your point is that it starts to when you're thinking about AI or ChatGPT and it's giving you these answers, it's very easy to see this as this like robotic movement that now you have to replicate perfectively in order to play at a high level. Um, but the cool thing about golf is that when you do get the answer the way you go about getting to that answer is personal to the golfer. Your feels and the way if I told you, "Hey, I need you to turn more," the way you're gonna think about turning more and the way I'm gonna think about turning more are probably two different answers. And that's how we can still keep our character when it comes time to swinging the golf club or playing the game. So to me, seeing it more like a tool in your toolbox rather than the end all be all. Like if I don't get the answer from ChatGPT, I have nothing. That just makes it that much easier for everybody to say, okay, well, this is an option. And if I feel like I'm really in a rut, or if I feel like I just don't know what I need to be paying attention to right now, I know that this is a great place to start. It's not going to give me information that I probably couldn't answer myself or figure out. So it's just going to guide me on the right path.
And to your point, I think the future of golf is going to be, even though it's so competitive right now, it's going to be even more competitive because everybody is going to have access to top level coaching and tips and analysis and data. It's not just going to be the ones that are privileged enough to be able to, afford to work with some of those top coaches you had mentioned. And so the game is going to become even more fiercely competitive, which is going to be wild to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm curious, Harrison. So you work with a lot of juniors. You've obviously been coaching, players of all different levels. What would you say would be some of the pitfalls that you see with people that are, you know, beginning or intermediate in golf, where maybe they're ingraining the wrong things early on? Common pitfalls that you see. I mean, the first is from my mind is slice. Everybody's kind of slices the ball, but you know. What advice can you give to those players that may have some of those common faults and how to kind of either fix them early or to prevent them altogether?
So I would really say there are kind of two avenues that people go down where I start to notice destruction to their game, and that's typically when people are coming to me. One avenue is they have this preconceived notion about what they need to do with their game or what they need to do with their swing. That couldn't be further from the truth, or it is a very small piece of the puzzle. I mentioned a couple coaches before. Chris Como, I've heard him use the term like, "Where's the cancer or the tumor in the swing?" And I don't think people take enough time to figure out what that is, or they don't invest into working with a coach to know what that is. It's so easy. This is again pros and cons to having all of this information. It is so easy just to go online when you have an issue and go, okay, how do I fix this? And now you have 30 or 40 or 50 different videos of someone telling you in their own way how they would go about fixing it. And now you have all of these swing thoughts that aren't really getting to the root cause or the root problem. So that's one avenue that people typically go down that I'm not a fan of. The other avenue is intentionality. So when it comes time to being intentional with their practice, let's say you do have the answer and it comes time to actually working through it. We're doing it at full speed. We're doing it worried about the result right away. We're not necessarily committed to the process or slowing things down at first. It's supposed to be something that's different, and so taking the time to actually work through it is where a lot of us aren't patient enough to do so. So being really intentional in your practice and in your routine can help you start to get a better pattern or a better habit. And that's where it starts to make a huge difference playing better golf. So those two avenues is where I see the most issues.
Yeah, I mean, and both are equally important. I agree with you. I mean, it's almost like the WebMD aspect where you're going to self-diagnose you whatever it is that you have, which is like 99% chance that you don't actually have the ailment that WebMD says that you have, but yeah, you'll live like that in your own mind. And then two is not giving enough time to realize that, okay, if you're making a change in your swing, it's supposed to be awkward. It's supposed to be painful. It's supposed to feel different and weird. That's good. And I think that that is something, to your point, that needs to really be, that expectation needs to be set, that let's make this awkward, because that means you're learning something new. That means you're doing something different. And I know in my own self that I'll go back to my bad habits all the time because it feels more comfortable. It's what I know, the devil you know.
Especially when you've gotten so used to it. It's not necessarily that it's right or wrong, but you've gotten so used to a move or a pattern that the minute we start to try and change it or develop it into something that could be better, it becomes very hard to do that one task, which is hit the golf ball and get the shot that you're looking for. And so sometimes when you start to integrate these new patterns and you're trying to work through a change, and then all of a sudden you hit that shot and it's not the way you wanted it to go, we immediately start to panic and we go down the rabbit hole, and then we start to throw a bunch of things at the wall hoping that it's going to stick, and unfortunately that's where we start to get into really really detrimental change. So for me, having some type of intention, like for example, we said earlier that just by hitting the ball more solid is going to make a huge difference in playing the game at a high level. So something as intentional as, okay, well, today, instead of going to the range and hitting a bucket of balls, we're going to hit into a net. We're not going to worry about the result right away. We're going to be more focused on our process. And the only thing that we're going to have for feedback is a camera. So we're going to set up our phone and we're going to take video of these swings today. And we're also going to use something simple like foot spray to spray the golf club to see if when we do those things that we think we're doing, are we hitting it more centered? Who cares what that golf ball does? You may end up drawing it or over slicing it or whatever, but you need to know, okay, from a starting point, if I'm going to be intentional with this, then I can't worry about everything right now. I need to do it in bits and pieces in order to make the change permanent.
Mm. Intentionality and breaking it down into bite-sized kind of changes. It seems to be a consistent theme on how to properly make a change, or to get instruction. Okay, so we've got stay away from YouTube, because you might go astray here. Check out your content, because you do share a lot of really good stuff on there. And if ChatGPT does you dirty, you can always work with a qualified coach like yourself. So for those people that are listening right now, they're like, okay, listen, I want to send my stuff to you. I want to maybe get in touch. I want to follow you. What's the best way for people to kind of get into Harrison's ecosystem?
Yeah, so I've decided through a bunch of different avenues, especially with social media, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are all Swing Simple Golf. If you want to reach out to me, you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. Hey, I listened to the podcast. I really want to talk to you about my own game. The goal this year is to start to offer my coaching as more of a remote style. So being able to work with anybody, doesn't matter where they are, they shouldn't just be in South Florida, but I'd love to be able to start working with everyone so that I can help. If they wanted to work with me in person, they could go on to swingsimplegolf.com and either book a free consultation with me. We can talk more about your game in detail, or we can book a swing evaluation and meet in person. That's the best way that I can help everybody.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, Harrison, you've got the eyes and the ears of golf parents, coaches, and juniors all over the world right now. What advice would you give maybe, golf parents when it comes to helping to kind of, nurture their juniors on their careers, and just what advice would you give in general to just junior golfers?
Yeah, so I can tell you, and I think this goes back to when we discussed if I were starting at a very young age and I had my parents taking me to the tournaments or taking me out to practice, what would I want? I would want, kind of bite-sized goals. It's very easy when you are at a young age to try and look at this massive picture, like, oh, we're gonna get you into the college scholars. Like, we're not even in high school yet. We're talking about a college scholarship. So it's starting with these smaller goals of, hey, this week we're going to be really, really good with our routine, or this week we're going to be really good in the tournament with our execution of hitting a good golf shot, and rewarding their kids for doing that stuff, not just rewarding them when they're playing well. I feel a lot of burnout from a lot of junior golfers comes from being rewarded or accepted when they are playing good, and then not being rewarded or not feeling good when they're playing bad. They should get into a level of, hey, I came out here and I competed today, or hey, I came out here and I worked hard. I did something today to make myself better. That's where the feedback should be, yes, you're doing something good, even if you don't have the day that you wanted. That's just golf. That's the game that we play. And at the same time, when it comes time to a junior golfer trying to play or enjoy the game more, um, communicate effectively. It's okay to wake up one day and not feel good, or it's okay to wake up one day and not understand, what's going on when it comes time to the tournament conditions, or the people that you play with who are not in a good mood, and your parents are there and you just need to talk to somebody about it. It's okay to have those conversations. That to me is where you start to see a junior, or really any golfer, excel. So that would be my best advice.
I love that. Focus on the bite-sized goals. Make it, even if it's in tournament, really try and hit X amount of chips or greens in regulation, whatever it might be, to kind of take your mind off of the bigger outcome or the thing that you may have less control over, which is maybe winning or losing the tournament, and really putting it into something that you can kind of put your anxiety and your focus on is, something a little bit more bite-sized. I think that's great advice. And then learn to communicate. I mean, it's communication. That's it. It's what we're doing right now. Communicating to all the golf parents out there. Harrison, listen, thank you so much. This
Exactly
has been
right.
absolutely fantastic. Go ahead, follow you at Swing Simple Golf, Harrison Kovelman. This has been awesome. I really do appreciate it. I have one last question for you though. So not every kid's going to be pro. Not every kid's going to get that Division 1 scholarship. What advice would you give to those kids that maybe want to go the influencer route, or want to go into social media, or to have a different part of golf as what they're focusing on?
The amazing thing about the world we live in today is that um, being an influencer means that you are just trying to get on camera and be vulnerable, and show people all sides of whatever it is that you're interested in. Of course, we're talking about golf. So if you wanted to be a golf influencer, that doesn't mean you have to be a good golfer. You can you can be any level of golfer and get on camera and just talk about you and your experiences. Show people that you're a person just as much as them. I feel like connecting with somebody's emotional side is what helps you influence. So it's really it's a cool world that we live in, where you can just pull up a video on your phone of you talking about what you want to do or hitting a golf shot, and people will start to follow you because of it. So I really would tell a bunch of juniors, if they were trying to become a content creator and influencer, to have fun with it. There is no wrong answer for what you could do. And so enjoying that process of it. It is hard work. You are going to have to be very diligent and disciplined, and put out a bunch of content. But if you can enjoy the process of doing it, no matter what you put out, it's going to make it that much more fun.
Well, this has been fun, and Harrison, you're definitely an authentic creator. I enjoy checking out your content. You're definitely vulnerable. You're definitely, been sharing your journey, and that's why you've been popping off. That's why you're successful. So I think that's great advice, just in general, to give to anybody listening: is be yourself as much as possible, as much as you can, because you also give other people permission to be themselves when they see you being kind of showing people the real. It makes a difference.
Couldn't agree more.
Beautiful. Listen, my friend, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We'll do this again very soon.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you so much for listening to the Golf Parent Podcast. The best way to support what we're doing here is to check out any of our amazing sponsors. Grab a copy of The Adventures of Chase and Bella for the kids in your life. It's $18.99 on Amazon, and honestly, it teaches them more about focus and intention than most parenting books teach adults. And if you haven't grabbed the 99 Mistakes Guide yet, what are you waiting for? It's free, it's at thegolfparent.com, and it could genuinely change how you approach your kid's journey. You only get one chance at this, golf parents, so let's get it right. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.